Former U.S. President Donald Trump is once again making headlines, this time with a bold claim that Venezuela stole U.S. oil, land, and assets. The statement has sparked debate across political and economic circles. But to understand what Trump is referring to, we need to look back nearly 5 decades into the history of Venezuela's oil industry. Background: why oil matters. Venezuela sits on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. For much of the 20th century, its oil industry was dominated by foreign companies, many of them American, who extracted crude in exchange for royalties and taxes. These firms helped build Venezuela's economy, but critics argued that profits flowed abroad while ordinary Venezuelans saw little benefit. 1976, the turning point. That changed in 1976, when the Venezuelan government nationalized its oil industry. Hundreds of private businesses and foreign-owned assets were taken over by the state, and a new national oil company was formed, Petróleos de Venezuela, commonly known as PDVSA. At the time, nationalization was framed as an act of sovereignty. Venezuela compensated many companies, but disputes lingered over whether payments were fair or sufficient. This is the historical foundation behind modern accusations of stolen assets. The Chávez era, deeper control. Fast forward to the late 1990s. President Hugo Chávez dramatically expanded state control over oil. Foreign companies were forced into minority partnerships. Contracts were rewritten and additional assets were expropriated. Several U.S. companies filed lawsuits, arguing that their investments were unlawfully seized. International arbitration courts ruled in favor of some firms, awarding billions in damages, many of which Venezuela has never fully paid. Economic collapse in U.S. assets. As Venezuela's economy collapsed in the 2010s, oil production plummeted. Refineries deteriorated, skilled workers fled, and U.S.-owned assets, including refineries and joint ventures, became entangled in sanctions and legal battles. One of the most high-profile cases involved Citgo, a U.S.-based refiner owned by PDVSA, which became a target for creditors seeking compensation for past seizures. What Trump means today, when Trump says Venezuela stole U.S. oil and assets, he's referring to this long history of nationalization, expropriation, and unpaid arbitration rulings. Supporters say it highlights failed socialism. Critics argue it oversimplifies decades of complex legal and political decisions. What's clear is this: Venezuela's oil story is not just about energy. It's about power, sovereignty, and the high cost of political decisions that still shape global relations today.